Hello and welcome to a new edition of Bengal Magazine. My name is Jeff Ventura, sitting in for a golfing Tom Kohler this week. On today's show, we'll start with the boss, the Director of Athletics, Jerry Boys. In the second segment, we'll talk men's soccer with head coach Mark Howlett, and he's bringing along senior goalkeeper William Banahene. And then we'll talk with another one of our successful soccer programs, the women's program, led by head coach Nicholas DeMarsh. He's going to be accompanied by junior midfielder Breanna Knight. After a short break, we're going to come back and talk with the Director of Athletics, Jerry Boys. Welcome back to Bengal Magazine. We're starting things off today with the Director of Athletics, Jerry Boys. Coach, first time on the show as Director of Athletics, also obviously the head football coach. Like to check in globally about the health of the department. With the start of the fall sports, some really strong starts from our soccer programs. Football's off to a 2-1 start. Successful homecoming weekend, undefeated at home last weekend. Talk about what you've seen so far, the start to our fall competition.
Well, I'm delighted with our start, Jeff. For the most part, some seasoned coaches, although this is just Ray Shadowin's second season and really only one full recruiting year underneath his belt. But a very good start in particular and led by our men's and women's soccer programs. They had a nice sweep this past weekend, both of them, and as they opened up SUNY play. Yes, the football team is 2-1 with a very important game coming up this weekend. And two young teams with cross country and volleyball, and I would say that they're showing their youth a little bit right now. But I'm delighted where we are and how not only the success in terms of wins and losses, but how our student athletes, the culture of our athletics program, and the culture that our coaches bring to Buffalo State.
It's always nice to start the year off successfully with the fall sports, really sets the tone for the year. Some other exciting things going on off the field this year, kind of a revamping of the student athlete experience with the life skills division, some involvement in the community. Talk about the importance of those programs and what we offer to our student athletes here at Buffalo State.
Well, Jeff, as you know, we talk as a department about our student athlete experience, and that is one that really we kind of get involved with because it's not just on the field, on the court, in the pool, on the rink. That's a very important piece of the experience, but it's the experience off those venues of plays, in the classroom and the success that they're doing there, but also getting them prepared, as we kind of say in our department, the experience is getting them prepared for life. So our life skills program that we've had for a number of years now, but this past year, kind of a revamped program, just absolutely excited about our Leadership Institute that we're now in the second year with. Our student athletes know that it's not just about their involvement on their venue of play. It is what they're doing in the classroom, giving back somewhat, but learning those skills of what it takes to be successful once they leave Buffalo State.
We talk about student athlete experience. That's kind of your mantra as the Director of Athletics. Playing into that student athlete experience, we talk about facilities as well. Exciting times with Buffalo State, of course. The renovation of Houston Gym completed in 2014, a real showpiece building to show recruits. The press box on Coyer Field, almost $2 million project that gives that stadium feel, or the start of a stadium feel, to Coyer Field. But some exciting things on the horizon for Buffalo State Athletics facilities as well. What can you share with us, updates in those areas right now?
Well, just kind of the excitement piece, Jeff. It's still in the process. These projects are right now slated for completion fall of 2017. But lights to Coyer Field to add to your statement of a stadium feel. We're renovating locker rooms in our sports arena that's now 25 years old, and upgrades to our outdoor track and hopefully our indoor track as well. So there's exciting things going on from a facility standpoint, because part of getting the kids here so they can have the experience is recruiting them to come to Buffalo State. And facilities have always played a part in recruiting, but none more so than now. In the past, really a couple decades, I would say, it's always staying up with the Joneses, you might say. And what we have done from an athletics facility standpoint has put us, in some ways, I think, even ahead a little bit, but at least we're on equal footing with everyone else when it comes to parents coming in here and recruits and seeing our facilities and seeing the quality of the facilities. Now we're on par, if not in some ways, I think even a little bit better. So facilities are just so crucial today to recruiting.
You mentioned two projects in particular, and start with lights. With one game field on campus and the challenges that presents, what will lights add to our offerings, our ability to conduct events? How will that change the landscape for us?
Well, when you add lights to a turf field, basically now you have an indoor facility outside, so that it extends the day. And that not only for our teams to kind of extend a little bit, but it also is offerings for outside users, rentals, Section 6, to come in and make use of a very great location, much like our sports arena is for the basketball with Section 6. So that's what our vision is, and we hope that kind of comes to fruition when our lights are in place, and we have this offering for not just Buffalo State, but the community as well.
A very exciting project. The other piece is the track you mentioned, the resurfacing, but also kind of restructuring potentially of the track. Our track and field program's historically very, very strong, in spite of right now probably subpar practice facilities. Talk about what that could mean for that program as well.
Well, you're right, Jeff. It's interesting that our track and field program that's at the national level has the worst facilities of all of our sports programs right now. We have a 6-lane track, and it's a practice track. We have the footprint that we can make that into an 8-lane track. There's some crystal ball things that we have to look at, because the track, the way it is situated, it's a project to make it into an 8-lane track that coincides with the turf field. So that's might be down the road a little bit, but we need to repair and resurface and upgrade our long triple and pole vault areas, so that we can have this great practice facility at this point. But we do have that vision of Jeff of making it an 8-lane so that we can potentially host our own conference championships, but also extend that for high schools and things of that nature to bring them on campus and use the facility.
Very exciting times in Buffalo State Athletics, again, with the showpiece facility we've already created, and no doubt these new enhancements will improve the overall look immensely. Thank you so much for coming on. Good luck in your other role as football coach this weekend at St. John Fisher. After a short break, we'll talk men's soccer with head coach Mark Howlett.
This is a college that inspires. Here you'll be engaged, strive for excellence, and prepare for a career. Visit our amazing Elmwood Village campus and apply today. You'll achieve your edge here. This place is Buffalo State College.
Your Tim Hortons Athlete of the Week this week, men's soccer player Bas Sarr, the sophomore, scored 3 goals in a perfect 3-0 week for the Bengals, including a 2-0 start in SUNY play. Sarr netted the first goal of the game in a 2-1 win over Alfred State on Tuesday and scored both goals in a 2-0 victory over Brockport on Saturday, marking the Bengals' first win over the Golden Eagles since 2001. Sarr currently leads the SUNY with 8 goals in just 8 games played this season. Congratulations to Bas Sarr on being named the Tim Hortons Buffalo State Athlete of the Week. Speaking of men's soccer, we're joined by head coach Mark Howlett and senior goalkeeper from Rochester, William Banahene. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Congratulations on the great start so far, 7-2-1 overall, 4 straight wins, 2-0 in SUNY play. Coach, talk a little bit just about the start to the season. Is it meeting, exceeding expectations, and where's the team heading?
I think it's probably meeting expectations right now. In all 3 of the games that we've dropped, they've actually been pretty disappointing because we've more than held our own in those games and expected probably better outcomes after the fact. But the way that we've recovered from losing Luke Pavone, our leading point scorer from last year for the season, and the way other people have stepped up, it's been exciting to watch.
William, talk about as a senior leader, only your second year with the program, but still a senior leader on this team. How has the start of the season gone, especially dealing with adversity of losing probably your focal point and your true leader of the team?
Yeah, I think we started great. You know, we grew a lot over the past year. When we had the opportunity to come in earlier with the trip from England, and we just keep growing each week.
Like the women's soccer program, the same question will come later. Talk about what that trip meant. I know we already talked about the trip and the specifics, but how do you think it has helped prepare you for this point?
I think it prepared us more in the fact of just getting to know each other more. Being around somebody for 9 days, you really get to know them, good and bad. And I think that it's helped me a lot in dealing with the guys on an individual basis on how to get the best out of somebody, what makes them tick, what gets them motivated. So I feel from that aspect it was fantastic in getting to know them more and more as a person.
Want to talk about that opening weekend of SUNY play, a 2-0 start, the Friday win first over Geneseo, 2-1 in overtime. I don't have an extensive soccer background. Watching that last minute of play, if every game guaranteed me that kind of minute, I'd watch every soccer game in the world. I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like it. Your leading scorer, Bas Sarr, with 55 seconds left, appears to be in position to win the game, and a defender gets a foot on it, allowing enough time for Geneseo to race down the field, almost a breakaway on you, William, and I think you say you baited him, but appeared to fall down and somehow stole the ball off the foot, and still had time for Tristan Myers to score with 1 second left at the other end. Just talk a little bit about that minute and the roller coaster of emotions and what went right to set up the winning goal.
You know, first of all, it was frustrating after 90 minutes that we didn't just come out with a more comfortable victory. But in the end, it's really propelled us probably into the second day as well and helped us there. But the last minute, I thought really Geneseo were probably getting the better of us and the better chances. And when Bas goes down, like you said, with a minute to go, we all of a sudden think, okay, it's over, we can start recovering and getting ready for the next day. And then all of a sudden, 20 seconds later, okay, it's over. How do we deal with this huge loss that we're about to take? And then there's probably 15, 20 minutes of nothing. I think Geneseo still had possession of the ball with 20 seconds left. And all of a sudden we're able to break and clock's winding down. I hear your voice, 1 second goes up and all of a sudden everybody's steaming onto the field and congratulating Tristan.
It was a dramatic finish. William, talk about, okay, so you see, I would assume you also thought Bas was about to win the game, and then 20 seconds later, you're facing a 1v1 situation and appeared to fall down. You take us through the play and exactly how it happened.
Well, I came out expecting my guy to win it. You know, I was just there for insurance, you know, and then I was called upon. And I basically was thinking in my head, he's not going to score at all costs, you know. And I don't even remember what happened. All I just remember is I like went to the ground and then the ball was in my hand. People were clapping, and Sammy said, "Let's go." So then I gave my teammate the ball, and then 10 seconds later, I don't even
Maybe
remember.
I had a clearer view. The ball didn't just go into your hand. I believe you crawled a couple of paces and snagged the ball off the
at
foot.
all costs.
And then to go down the other end and have Tristan turn the defender around not once but twice and put it in with a second left. Propels you to the next day. Brockport, a team historically strong that has historically had our number for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And to really post a pretty convincing 2-0 victory over a team we hadn't beaten since 2001. What does that mean to the program, and what does that do to the confidence level?
It's huge. You know, I'll talk a little bit because we've got them coming up this weekend, but last year beating Fredonia for the first time in over 30 years, and now beating Brockport for the first time in 15 years, we continue to break down barriers. You know, we continue to beat people that are just expecting another 3 points from Buffalo State, and to do it in a way that was very convincing on Saturday, and really they didn't have a chance to score. Just shows how far we've grown, how far we've come, and that the mentality is starting to change. We're starting to believe that, hey, we're not the underdogs anymore, that we're actually going into games and we've got the upper hand over people.
I always wondered this from a player's perspective. There's so much talk in Buffalo about 16 years of the Bills and no playoffs, but none of those players were there for all 16 years. Does something like a streak since 2001 not being Brockport, does that matter to the players at all? And does it have significance when you beat that team more than beating any other team?
I think it's more or less more motivation, but I don't think it's going to deter us from saying, oh, it hasn't been done in so long that we can't do it. You know, it kind of gives us that mentality that we want to beat this team for the 16 teams that didn't get it done and represent the Bengals.
Very good. What needs to improve? What are you still working on, and what's the end game for this team? How far can this team go this year?
For us, we really are taking it one day at a time, and I think, you know, we've been preparing all week for Saturday, and Saturday's our championship against Fredonia. And that's how we've looked at every game this year so far. We still need to improve all around. You know, we still need to be more clinical in front of goal. We still need to make sure that we're not giving a lot of set-piece opportunities away, long throw-ins, corners. So we continue to pick out points of our game that we need to work on a daily basis. But, you know, as far as how far this team can go, again, we'll take it one day at a time, and hopefully we keep performing like we are, and hopefully we're going well into November.
Again, next game Saturday, October 1st at Fredonia, an important contest for the institution in the quest to get the Battle by the Lake trophy, the Lake Erie Cup, back to the campus. Guys, good luck with the rest of the season, especially this Saturday, the championship of the season, the next game. When we come back, we're going to talk with our other very successful soccer program, women's soccer, and head coach Nicholas DeMarsh. Here's a look at this week's Bengal update, checking out some of the past week's events and looking forward at events to come in Buffalo State athletics. A pair of Buffalo State student athletes honored this past week. Women's soccer players Melissa Smith and Taylor Carrillo sweeping the SUNY Women's Soccer Awards. Smith named the Offensive Player of the Week. She had 2 goals, 2 assists in a 3-win week, including the lone goal in a 1-0 win over Geneseo. And Carrillo posted 3 consecutive shutouts en route to Defensive Player of the Week honors, defeating Viewville, Geneseo, and Brockport. She's extended her shutout streak to 349 minutes and 55 seconds. The men's soccer team also ripped off 3 more wins, including getting off to a 2-0 start in SUNY play. Tristan Meyer scoring with 1 second remaining in overtime to give the Bengals a 2-1 win over Geneseo, and Baz Saar scored twice in the Bengals' first win over Brockport since 2001. Both soccer teams take on Fredonia this Saturday, October 1st, in important Battle by the Lake competitions. The women host the Blue Devils at 1 p.m. The men will play on the road. Football got back in the win column, improving to 2-1 with a 40-24 homecoming victory over Morrisville. Stephen Johnson 4 catches for 147 yards and a touchdown, and the Bengals had 2 second-half interceptions, including a pick 6 by Ish Height. Bengals play their first road game of the season this Saturday, October 1st at St. John Fisher. Bengals cross-country teams return to action this week at the Roberts Wesleyan Invitational. The women were 14th of 21 teams, led by senior Elizabeth Wall, who placed 35th of 223 runners. On the men's side, the Bengals finished 14th of 22 teams. Freshman Kevin Murnock led the way, finishing 55th out of 213 runners. The Bengals will run again this Friday, September 30th, at Washington and Jefferson. And Buffalo State's women's volleyball team opened SUNY play this past weekend. They'll compete at the Fredonia tournament this Friday and Saturday with matches against Hilbert, RIT, and Fredonia in non-conference action. That's it for this week's Bengal Update. We're now joined by women's soccer head coach Nicholas DeMarsh and junior midfielder from Valley Stream, New York, Breanna Knight. Both of you, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff.
Congratulations on an excellent start. Nick, 2 losses in the last 25 games dating back to last season. That includes a run to the SUNY championship game and, of course, a 6-1-2 start this season. Not just this year, but talk about this run and kind of what led to really a culture change within the program, I would think.
Well, I think it's been coming for a long time. I think the culture change really started probably in 2009, where we've been very competitive and a regular in postseason. But, you know, when you're fighting against generations of losing and, you know, maybe a flawed mentality, it takes some time to kind of dispel those demons and those ghosts from the past and really kind of start to believe that, you know, you can win every game.
We talked about it with William. From a player's perspective, you don't necessarily have the history, not that there was a bad history, but it wasn't at this level. Your freshman year, I believe, was 7-8-5, and now these past 2 years, including a 14-3-1 mark last year, I think, and 6-1-2 this year. Talk about the attitude within the locker room, and I would assume there's an expectation that you're winning every game you go into.
I kind of feel like we kind of have more of a connection as a team, and everybody's kind of getting along. Like, yeah, we have our certain cliques, but everybody at the end of the day is a family, and that's what we go into with our games. Like, we win this together or we lose it together. So I feel like having that mentality is a good way to get those wins. And because if you lose, then it's just like everybody's discombobulated. So I feel like that really helped us.
It's an ultimate team sport, 11 on the field. A key loss last year, graduating Gabriella Boldinsky, the program's first ever All-American, a defender, and such an important part of your style of play is cleaning the back and keeping a clean sheet. Starting a freshman goalkeeper this year in Taylor Carrillo, I think there's some questions heading into the season. In the first 6 games, conceded 7 goals, which isn't bad by most standards, but you probably weren't happy with that, and now 3 consecutive shutouts. Was there a learning curve, and how are you getting it done this year?
I think the structure stays the same. You know, players, I've come to learn, great players, you know, players like Gina Monaco, Barb Klishik, they come and they go. They come in, and 4 years later you have to say goodbye. So I think if the system and the structure of your program are consistent and the pillars of what you do don't change, then the players know the expectation and it's the next player into the job. Lex Carrillo has done an incredible job, not really playing center back or central defense as her primary position, but jumping into that role this year. Watching her perform has been breathtaking, and her sister as well as a goalkeeper, as a freshman. She came to us with a lot of experience, but there's a jump when you go to college, and she's been outstanding. I will say those 6 goals at that point in the season, 3 of those came against Misericordia, and they're like a top 20 team in the country. That's a very good team, and they put our feet back down on the ground and exposed some of our weaknesses and some of the things that we need to do better. So I don't think 6 goals against when 3 is against Misericordia is maybe a fair judge of how we've done defensively overall this season. You know, I think we faced a really tough opponent in them, and that was actually helpful. And to go back to your last question, when I really think about it, Bree's team, when she was a freshman, came in, they did some losing, but it was really valuable losing. And they learned, we can't make this mistake. We can't make this mistake. Keep it in your mind, we can't make this mistake. You almost reverse engineer it. So this group has now learned all the different ways to lose in order to win, if that makes any sense to you. And I think we're doing that again this year. We're just figuring out, don't do this and we can have success, we can win games.
A little short on time, but advancing to the championship game last year, an excellent run. Of course, every team in the country ends their season with a loss, with the exception of one that makes the playoffs. But I know it leaves a taste in your mouth that you probably still remember. What's the expectation this year, and how do we take it a step further this year?
Interesting game, you know, and I've thought about that game so many times. I mean, I don't want to say daily, but I've thought about that game over and over. And we played, actually, statistically, we dominated that game, but we didn't play well. And this year we've tried to adjust and play a better brand of soccer, possess a bit more, be a little bit more thoughtful with the final pass, and make our last opportunity maybe 10% better, rather than kind of a hopeful shot from 30 yards. Can we get it to the top of the 18? So all told, I think it was a great learning experience for the girls. They had their hearts broken, but you know, we look to take that experience from that loss, hopefully forward into the playoffs, and if possible, achieve.
Best of luck to both of you for the rest of the season. Thank you so much for coming on. That'll do it for another edition of Bengal Magazine.